Number of years ago. It was a bright summer day, and I was on my way to the pool when a friend of mine, my friend Anna, shared with me that she was having uh, personal problems and concern about a friend of hers, and she'd been talking to the doctor for a while about the friend, and she wanted to know if I could go with her to the doctor to talk about her problems. We we went to the hospital, and turned out I was the friend, and Anna had been talking about me for weeks to the doctors about my apparently erratic behavior. And instead of going to the pool that day, I was involuntarily committed into the insane asylum. We all think we're crazy from time to time, but there's a difference between when someone else thinks you're crazy, and that doesn't make you crazy. Welcome. Welcome to Illinois Bridging Awareness. I'm Stanley Smith. We're bridging the gap between our triggers, fight, flight, and shutdown response, and our thinking selves. Norman Vincent Peale said that we could probably think our way out of every situation we need to, and beyond that, we have divine intervention. I think we're playing both hands here at Illinois Bridging Awareness. We're open to any and all solutions. Last night, I got an unexpected call from overseas to let me know that Graham had been fired as the U.S. coordinator of Connecting Consciousness, and I was kind of surprised to hear that. Sad to hear that. I like Graham. I know people had issues with everyone has issues with everybody, but Graham was the one that officially hired me as coordinator for Illinois and Connecting Consciousness about 3 years ago. And Cheryl, I also worked with Cheryl. I like Cheryl too, and anybody, for good or for bad, we miss them when they're no longer in our lives. But it was indicative more of a larger narrative at Connecting Consciousness that we're not really following because we're really not all that interested in. I, of course, was fired because I was accused of building a pyramid scheme here in Illinois with another member to extort thousands of dollars from our members. I'm still looking for those erroneous dollars. But part of a larger picture of something of an exodus, especially of coordinators from overseas. They're watching the U.S. and they see the board and the monthly meetings of the coordinators, and the people come and go. They really can't keep track any longer of who is the state coordinator in each state. I guess my turn of events I trace probably to the arrival of Poppy and Jeff as the Midwest coordinators. And, I wasn't surprised at that. New people always want to get rid of the old regime to make their own thing. And that's probably part of what happened because about a year after their arrival, I was ushered out, and Poppy and Jeff paid me an unexpected visit at my office in downtown Chicago shortly after my departure to serve me a cease and desist order from connecting with any of the friends I'd made in Connecting Consciousness. And I I told Poppy and Jeff that I didn't have any issues or problems with Connecting Consciousness or organization, or Simon or Becky or Graham or anybody, and that didn't have an issue with them either, even though I actually didn't care for them all that much. But I told them that I appreciated the visit and that I loved them. And am I going to tell you that I didn't go out to get a gun to have in my desk for their next unannounced visit? I'm not going to tell you that. On a Saturday call here at Illinois Bridging Awareness, we talked about some of these issues with an organization and in our personal lives and our behaviors, and the idea that the word control is really an interrupter there. Like, we might have a rational thought and might be open to divine intervention, but somehow control gets in the middle of that. We insert it and focus on that, maybe unwittingly sometimes. And of course, we can see that in organizations, and it's too bad because it changes the dynamic of a problem and hiccups into problems versus problems. Are we making a problem of the problem by simply avoiding the problem, not discussing the problem, and not being transparent about things? And then it sets off our triggers that send us down the road of really scattering the flock. In general, we're thankful, I think, to Connecting Consciousness for connecting connecting all of us. That's what we always perceived it was all about, is making friends and meeting people. And we did that. Uh, Graham, from time to time, would remind us that in the Connecting Consciousness organization, there are 100,000 members per se. The ex-coordinator group refers to them as documents, 100,000 documents, because they probably don't truly represent a member. And Graham reiterated that probably only 1% of the membership is truly engaged. And we continue to be engaged here in Illinois and in groups around the country and groups that are parallel to our group. And we've pursued new endeavors, collecting with some of these other engaged groups. And this is something we never would have been able to do as part of Connecting Consciousness, because they were focused on being a closed group, which I can appreciate on some level, but I always saw the value as being the opportunity to connect with other groups. So these other engaged groups that we're involved with have pursued new initiatives. We're not waiting for project approval or for funding. We're actually moving ahead, and we're actually doing something. And the thing we're doing is working with the General Assembly, where we've already formed a General Assembly for the state of Illinois. And now we'll be working with each county in the state to form a local county assembly. And this will lay the groundwork for the transition we hope we'll see in the future when supposed white hats come in and change everything. We really have to think, well, who's going to be there to populate this new system? So, in the Bible, they talk about how the building falls, but the tenant lives on. So if our system or our operating system is going to change, who are the tenants going to be for this new operating system? So that's what we're doing here. We're kind of trying to get a handle on this and bridging awareness, figure out where we are, use our thinking minds that Norman Vincent Peale suggested we do to find our way out of this, some of these messes. I will add that on a Saturday call, we talked about probably a healthy notion or picture would be to, in the gamut of problems which we all have, maybe to just cut them in half and just take a rough guess that half of the problems and issues that we have identified or react to probably are not even issues. They're just procedural hiccups or miscommunications, and they're not really a problem. And we're giving them too much weight. And we could probably free ourselves up and give ourselves a little bit more energy and spring in our step if we just identify that half the things that we're obsessing about probably aren't even problems. Also on the call, we talked about some of the area meetups people are having. We're going to have another General Assembly meeting. People in DuPage are very active, and people in Aurora. Also floated the idea, one of our members asked if we couldn't have a central statewide event again, and we're going to look at reaching out to the Springfield people and see if they'd be open to hosting a Springfield event this summer. As I mentioned, the General Assembly also will be having meetings around the state eventually. It's going to take a little time to roll that out, but we will be coming to each and every county in the state. And then on Wednesday evenings, the National Assembly people are offering an educational series, which is a 3-part series. You can drop in to the call any Wednesday evening and start anywhere in the series, and then just continue for three consecutive or 3 intermittent Wednesdays to pick up the rest of the training as an introduction to the General Assembly. Some of our members have also asked if we can have a conversation about the conversation. So I'm going to offer a Wednesday Zoom call on the topic of the assembly and just answer some of these questions, because there have been a couple of hiccups and miscommunications that don't need to turn into a problem. I don't want anything to become a barrier for participation. It might not be for you, but it should not be for you for a correct and valid and lucid reason, and not just a reactionary problem, fight, flight, or a shutdown response problem. So, we're working on that, and it's very exciting. The General Assembly has identified that we have a system. We have a very good system, our constitutional republic, but it's been subverted because we really don't follow the rules. So a lot of us, myself included, are pretty ignorant on what the founding philosophy was, what the meaning of the documents are, and what the implications are in our governance. So it's helpful. I've also explained to people that even though it's a little vaporous, it's conceptually conceptually, it's very helpful because we understand conceptually how our country was conceived and the gap between how it was conceived and how it's operating. So how it's operating might be procedural, and part of it is, but we need to understand the full gamut of that. What is truly the corruption part, and what's simply a procedural part that we don't even understand? So again, part of that 50%, we're probably responding to things that are going on in the world that half of it is just procedural muckety muck that we are reacting to and reading into. But if we understood the procedure, that would help us, take the time and energy from reacting to that and truly focus it where it's needed. So on the Saturday call, where this ongoing conversation is leading to the topics of discipline and having a practice. You need to apply yourself. We all need to apply ourselves and give attention, pay attention, and stick with it long enough to fully go through it, like cross through the barrier of your fight, flight, and shutdown, like push through to see if you can get beyond that to a thinking, lucid, rational conclusion. It might not be right for you, but it could be. And you're eliminating some of those barriers, which somehow and oftentimes just cause us, hair to catch on fire and to scatter the flock unnecessarily. So again, it's the difference between a problem and simply a sticking point, and then the reaction, the trigger reaction, and our shutdown responses. So we don't need to all be like-minded. That was actually a silly notion. And our republic is entirely not founded on the idea of being like-minded. It's a republic. It's the idea that there's a majority, there's a minority, there's many different voices, and they all have a different viewpoint. In my personal experience in organizations, we've found common ground sometimes in the area of the concept of agree to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree. And then I've also experienced the toleration model. And really, I appreciate toleration, but don't you think we could do better than tolerating people? I think we have the example of love, and that's probably the combination of our thinking and our divine intervention selves. It's maybe it's a high bar for some of us, but you can't handle the love. Well, agree to disagree or toleration are a good intermediate step, and they could probably take the place of control. You could just get around your control issues, which probably, as we discussed on the call, are just creating a false sense of security and really have nothing to do with reality anyway. It might all seem illogical to some, but there's no need to go to the insane asylum. Instead, you can join us at Illinois Bridging Awareness. We're connecting with as many groups around the state and others around the nation, and our ultimate destination, well, we hope it's like going to the pool on a sunny summer day. To learn more about Illinois Bridging Awareness and how to connect with other groups and just be included in the conversation, whether you're a member or a subscriber or whatever identifier you're using, we want to be engaged with you and welcome you into this 1% of people who actually are getting it together, talking to people, having an adult conversation, and then seeing opportunities to take action and doing that instead of just sitting around waiting for the white hats to save everybody. The Saturday call is every Saturday, of course, at 9 a.m. Central Time on Zoom, and I will be offering this Wednesday informational meeting. I will include my email in the description of this video. I'll be happy to answer any questions and forward you an invitation. And of course, as always, I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.